Good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. This is Janet, and I'm coming to you live from my craft room in Texas, and we're super excited to be here. If you are new to our video, we are memory bound, and our store is right in the middle of Iowa, snowy Iowa, I should say. And let's start out by doing a quick weather report, because I do know that Iowa got even more snow yesterday, if you can believe that. So now we have snow on top of snow on top of snow. So crazy weather. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us okay, and if you can see us okay. I guess if you couldn't see us, you wouldn't be able to give us a thumbs up, but we're getting some thumbs up. I have my husband here as my official videographer this morning. His name is Jay. We'll see if we can get him to make an appearance, but I have my doubts about that. So while we're waiting for everybody to jump on, let me just say hello. We're so happy to have you here. I am coming at you from my new craft space that I've been putting together since we moved to Texas back in, what was it, Jay? Mid-November? And I have absolutely loved putting it together. It is a big job. If you've ever put together a craft room from scratch, it's a huge task. And so I had to spend a lot of time figuring out how I wanted things arranged, how I was going to store all the stuff that I brought with me from Iowa. And I guess I had more stuff than I thought I had because it has been a bit of a challenge. But I think I'm happy with how everything has come together. I still have a few things that I'm trying to figure out what to do with, but I think that's always going to be the nature of craft room organization. So I will tell you, back in Iowa when we did in-person classes, I used to teach an organization class, and Kelly knows, Diane knows, this is one of my favorite topics. So I could talk about organization stuff all day with you. So it's one of my favorite discussion points, and I love to help people get organized. And the purpose of organization is so that you can get more done. So you can find your stuff when you need it, and you can craft more in 2024. So let me ask Jay if we have any questions or comments so far.
Well, they're not coming through on the iPad. All I see is the video, so we're just having to look at the small screen here, so probably going to miss a bunch of them because they're only on the screen for about 2 seconds and then they disappear upward.
Well, we're going to do our best with the comments. So let me see if I can take a second and get the comments to show on this device. Here we go, Jay. And you can see them right there.
Perfect.
So, all right, I think we're all set. So occasionally we're going to take a pause and see if anybody has any questions, and I'll do my best. We'll do our best to get those questions. Let me just start with a few announcements that we have this morning. Let's see, the most important announcement I have is at 1 o'clock today, Central Time, Kelly will be doing a second video. So it's an exciting Friday. We have 2 videos in one day. And the topic of the video this afternoon is the Better Press letterpress. And since I happen to have one right here, let me just pull it out. And you can see mine still has the packaging. So I have not actually taken mine out of the packaging yet and used it, but I am on the ready. So Kelly is going to be explaining about the letterpress and how to use it. And then there is something called the Better Press Letterpress Society that you can join. It's a monthly subscription, and she'll be talking all about that and how you can be part of that fun group. So I'm excited for that video this afternoon. So tune in right here on our Facebook page at 1 o'clock today. So let me put this back in my cubby, and we'll continue on. I have a whole list of announcements, you guys. Let's see. Another announcement is if you missed part 1 of this video, it was last Friday, wasn't it, Jay? We came to you live from last Friday, live from Texas last Friday in the middle of a snowstorm in Iowa. And if you missed that video, just simply go out to where you see our videos stored and you will be able to find that video straight away. And after today's video, I will put together a blog post that will include both of those links. So Jay, can we pop over here so I can show everybody about the blog? I thought it would be handy, since I have my computer right here, to show you guys. If you go to the Memory Bound website, there is a tab right here at the top called Blog, and you just simply have to click it, and that will take you to our blog. And after every day's video, we put together a blog post as a companion post for that, and you just click on it. And in each video, you will see there are video and product links, or excuse me, in each blog post, there are video and product links. So here, you just click this one to watch the video from that day, and then click here to see any products that were used that day. So you can shop directly from our blog and also watch the video. But the great thing about the blog is it includes a lot of pictures that we take after our morning demo, and you can refer back for inspiration. And the other thing that I will point out for you is over here at the right, there are all of these different categories, card making, Christmas.
You might point your finger because the mouse doesn't show up on the screen.
Oh, sorry. Yes, over here at the right, there are all these different categories. If you are interested, for instance, in containers and treat boxes, which is what Chris specializes in, all you have to do is click on that category, and it will bring up all of the container and treat box types of demos that we've done over the past couple of years. So if you're ever feeling like you need a little bit of inspiration, I would say start with our blog, and you will find literally hundreds and hundreds of projects to inspire you and help you craft more in 2024. So that's just a little bit about our blog. The other thing I'm going to point out, since I have my computer right here, is right along this top banner, you will also see the word calendar. And you just simply click on that. And this is a super handy thing because it has every single day of the calendar month and every demo that we're doing. So if you want to know, let's see, what did we do on Wednesday, January 3rd, you can just click on it and you'll often find a picture, a description of what we did, and then the products that were featured that day. And so I'm sure everybody remembers this was Katie's adorable New Year's album that she made with a flip book. And so the calendar, if you want to know what's coming up over the next month, just click February, and you can see we already have a few things scheduled for February. And likewise, you can go backwards in time and see what we had scheduled in previous months as well. So again, you can just click on any of those days and see what we talked about that day. So again, the calendar is another great resource for you. So that's just a little bit about our website, and if anybody has any questions about that, just chime in and we'll try to answer your questions. So let's head back over this way, Jay. We are tethered by two very long cords, and I'm hoping we don't get tangled up today. Let's see, what else do I have to share with you guys before we get started? Okay, in our first video the other day, we went through the whole room and talked about how everything was organized, and I got partway through this Kallax system. And the Kallax system is what IKEA, the IKEA store, calls their basically 12 by 12 cube system, and you can purchase these units in various configurations, and then they do need some assembly. I think you would vouch for that, right, Jay? Some assembly required. So this one happens to be 5 squares across and 5 squares down. I was thinking about only getting a 4 by 4, and my daughter convinced me that probably should get a larger one, and I'm really happy that I did, because obviously I filled it up and then some. The other thing that my daughter convinced me to do is to get a white one. And initially I had planned to get a black one because I have a black table and I have a lot of black accents in my room. And I was sure I wanted a black one. And she said, no, Mom, I think visually it's just going to be too heavy. And I'm really glad I went with the white one. So it just kind of blends into the wall, and I really like that it doesn't add any additional visual weight to the room. So we're going to continue going through the rest of the Kallax this morning and show you what I have in these drawers and my stamps, my dies, and then the very bottom row. And I'm going to talk again about our cardstock in just a second. Jay, do we have any questions at all?
No, just a lot of people enjoying the blog.
Oh, great. You guys, it is such a pleasure to do the blog. I've always loved blogging, and it is really fun for me to do the blog. And you might think this is a commercial for Buc-ee's, but it is actually not. Thanks to my memory bound colleagues for this lovely cup. Let's jump right in. So I wanted to circle back and talk about the way I store my cardstock and my pattern paper. If you are looking for a new way to store your pattern paper and your cardstock, I would suggest that you consider these vertical files. I'll tell you what, I have always stored my cardstock and my pattern paper in vertical files, but my old files were just about a half an inch taller than would fit in these cubes. So these cubes measure about 13 inches tall, and it was just a little bit too tall. So I purchased new ones through Memory Bound, and we are all stocked up on these. I would highly recommend these. They work great, and obviously I don't have mine full, so you can see they would accommodate quite a bit more paper cardstock than I have. And Jay, I don't know, can you zoom in on these little tabs? So you can also purchase separately the little tab sheets that fit inside the vertical sleeves, and they're really handy because you can label them for however you have your paper or your cardstock organized. Of course, I'm a rainbow color girl, so everything I do is in rainbow color order. So I just purchased several of these to fit inside my vertical holders. And this is my cardstock. I just have it in rainbow color order, and then the long pieces that are 12 inches long, I just clip those together and put them in here as well, because the long pieces unfortunately don't fit in my scrap container. So I just keep them in here, and that works just fine for me. So if you're looking for a new way to store your cardstock and your pattern paper, I would definitely recommend this. And as you can see, 4 of these fit really nicely in the cube. So I've got my cardstock in colors, my cardstock in neutrals, and then I have 2 for pattern paper. And I try to store my pattern paper by color as well, and that can get a little bit trickier. Some colors, it's obvious, you know, what the color is, red, but other colors, other pattern paper might have multiple colors. So, you know, gosh, would you store that under white or red or green? You know, you could choose a variety. I tend to kind of squint at the paper, then I look, okay, what's the most predominant color that stands out to me? And in this case, it's red, so that's where it ends up going. So really, it just depends on how I think I'm best going to use it and be able to find it. And then if I have 2 sheets that kind of coordinate, I will clip them together, and I've just got a paper clip on them so that I remember to use them together. So again, pattern paper in the same order, same rainbow order, and pattern paper stored like this makes it easy for me to find. So what is new this time in this craft room is how I store my themed collections. In my previous craft room, I had all of my themed collections stored in 12 by 12 iris boxes, but in this room, I don't have a lot of storage space that will accommodate boxes of that size. So I took all that stuff out of those those horizontal iris boxes and I put them in these vertical storage. And I really think they're going to be better this way because now I can see what I've got. So for instance, this is all the, you guys probably remember this. This is the 49 and Market Curator's Meadow, which we all loved. And I have got all of the paper that goes with that particular collection in a little sleeve. And I just tuck it right down in here. So I keep it together. This is all the Simple Stories Vintage Lakeside paper and ephemera and whatnot. And I just keep it in a plastic sleeve. This is the plastic sleeve that comes with the collection when you purchase it. And I just cut the top off so I can slip everything right down in there. So I'm just keeping my collections now vertically stored as opposed to horizontally stored. And then I can go right to them. I don't have a huge amount of themed paper, so this might not work for everybody, but for me it works really well. So that's just another quick step back and look at how I store my paper and my collections of paper. And so far I'm really excited about this new system. So let me ask Jay if there are any questions before we move on.
Again, they're flying by pretty quick. There are just some people talking about how they also have 4x4 units and they seem to be full.
Yes, yeah, I'm really glad I got a 5x5, and that was a spur of the moment decision when my daughter and I were at IKEA. She said, Mom, I think you really should get the 5x5, and I said, okay, let's do it. So I also bought this one over here, which we talked about the other day, which is 4 across and 2 deep. And I think I mentioned before, my initial plan was to purchase 3 of these and set them up along this low wall. And I still could do that. If space becomes an issue, I still could do that. But as of right now, I'm not planning on doing that. So let me just check my list and make sure that there's nothing else that I need to share with you guys. I think
someone made a comment that on your different papers that some of those patterns would just be in a category called floral.
Yeah, you know, that is a really good point. I want to make sure that I mention this because when you are organizing your room, you have to think about, okay, what would be the best way for me to find product when I need it? Some people think of product strictly in terms of color, and that's what I am. And I think some of you probably are as well. So that's why I store a lot of my things by color. Some people think of their product in terms of theme. So some people do think of their product, you know, where are my florals? Where are my stripes? Where are my geometrics? And so forth. If that's you, then you just create your storage system in that way versus by color. So it really just hinges on what is going to be the easiest way for you to find product when you need it. And that's the thing about an organization class. When we used to do organization classes at the store, the same solution does not work for everybody. And likewise, you will have to live with a system for a while and see if it's working for you, and then don't be afraid to tweak it. I can't tell you how many times I've changed the way I'm storing something because I find that I'm just not using my stuff or I can't find my stuff when I need it. So be willing to tweak it as you go. Great question. Anything else?
2 things. First, someone would like to know if the baskets there are also from IKEA, and the second question is about how you make your labels for those.
Great questions. Great
organizers.
questions. Yes. Yeah, let me answer this question first. All of the baskets and bins are from IKEA. And this one is a woven basket. They have tons of different options, you guys. They have baskets, they have bins. This is a felt bin that we'll talk about later. It's kind of got a felt outside and it's got a stiff inside. They have a lot of options. I think you could possibly purchase other bins and baskets that would fit in them. But the nice thing about the IKEA ones is that they're sized perfectly, and you can purchase them all at once when you're at IKEA.
I think the question was how you do your labels for
Yes.
the outside of those
For the
containers.
outsides. Okay, great question. These are all done. I do all of my labels in Microsoft Word. And so this particular label is, if you are familiar with text boxes on Word, it is a text box created in Word that I filled with black, and I changed the text to white. So that's how I get the look of white print on black. And let me ask you guys, if you are interested in this topic of text boxes and all of that, we could sure do an on-location video from my craft room where we talk about just that. So give us a thumbs up if that would be something that you would be interested in. And we can absolutely put that on the list. In fact, it's kind of been on my list for a while. So all of the labels that you see in my craft room, pretty much all of them I create in the same way. So these labels here are done in the same way. Here, Jay, I think you can see this. Same situation. It's a text box. If you're familiar with text boxes, and I can explain that in another video, it's filled with black, and then the text is changed to white. So that's how you get the look of white printing on black. So it's a fun little trick, and I really love the look of that. So I use that technique all the time. So let us know if that would be something of interest, and we can delve into that more fully. Anything else, Jay? Shout out to my cameraman today. He's doing a great job, I think. Let me tell you, he had a career in radio back in high school. And you were the voice of who, Jay? McGruff the crime dog. McGruff the crime dog. So he has some background in this in this media industry. So I'm lucky to have him, and happy that he's doing this for me. And if we're especially lucky, we might get an appearance from my kitty Lily this morning. We'll see if she comes up. Yes, Jay.
The home office is asking if you can show your completed albums.
Oh, sure. You know, we're going to have to make a list of things that would be good to do in future videos. Let me finish what we're going to do this morning, and then maybe I can grab a couple and show you. Let's make sure we don't forget that, Jay. Do you want to scan over here?
Is it just a display?
Yeah. Yeah, these are my completed chronological albums, and they're a little bit kind of messy this morning. I've been pulling them out. I have my family albums that are primarily in black, and I have them chronologically by year. And then I have some vacation albums that are in gray. So pretty much all of this is family stuff. And you guys, you can see I'm going to be running out of room. So this is why I might need to get another storage unit. But over here, what you see over here is primarily, from this point on down, Jay, is primarily family history. So this is my family history albums that I've been creating for both my family and for Jay's family. And some of these I have shared with you in my Heritage series. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for my family, and a couple for his family so far. But a lot of this is my genealogy information that I inherited from my grandma. So these big albums are all her genealogy records. So I just kept them because they're great references as I work on those projects. So maybe later we can delve into more about the albums. Anything else, Jay?
No, pretty good. They like it.
All right.
Good topic.
Great. Yeah, if there's any suggestions that you have for future on-location videos, that would be fabulous. Because now that we have the technology and we're set up and the know-how to do this remote type video, there are lots of things that we could do, like anything on the computer, anything heritage. It becomes a little bit easier to do that since we're right here in my craft room. So any ideas would be wonderful. So I would like to jump back into where we were the other day when we last joined our protagonist. We were going through the calyx, and I left off right here at my stamps. And I want to make sure that we talk about stamp storage today. So first of all, before I pull this out, the Kallax unit is approximately, it's about 13 inches wide. And so if you want to put a storage container inside the Kallax cube, it needs to be able to fit in there. And what I found is that these fridge bins from Target fit perfectly 2 by 2 next to each other. So these are clear plastic bins from Target, and they're very inexpensive. They're only like maybe $6, something like that, not very expensive. And they measure 6 inches across and 4 inches tall and 12 inches deep. So 2 of them side by side fit perfectly inside one of the Kallax cubes. So I picked up several of these. The other great thing about them is they do stack. They have a little lip on them, so you could stack them in your Kallax cube. And I don't know, Jay, if you can see here, I've got 2 stacked here. And if you had very low things in here, you could stack 3. And you could actually fit 6 stacked in a Kallax cube. And these again are from Target, and I believe the brand is Brightroom, Brightt. So the first thing that I wanted to do is get a system that would fit inside the cube and would allow me to have some room to grow. So this system that I am using for my stamps is one that I had used at home in Iowa for many years. I had the same tabs, I had the same envelopes, but I had it in a different container. So I had it in a basket type thing. And in this new system, the basket was just too wide and did not allow me to get two rows of storage. So I trimmed down my little dividers so that they would fit inside this plastic tub, and just cut them down and re-rounded the corners, and then I was good to go. So the way I store my stamps is using the Avery Elle large pockets. And these are super, super handy. You've probably remember from the other day when we did this. I use them throughout my craft room. I use them for lots and lots of different things. They come in, I believe, 3 different sizes. We do have this one linked on the calendar today, so you can pick up a few packages if you need to. But they're nice and roomy. The size of this one is 5.5 inches, which is great because it fits in the 6-inch container that we're talking about, by 7 3/8 deep. So, and then it does have a little plastic fold over tab at the top, and that can just tuck inside your envelope like so. Or if you want to, you can like tape it down with washi or whatever. But what I do to make the most of these is I put a piece of cardstock down inside the sleeve, and I just cut it slightly less than the size of the sleeve. And what I like about this is I can put something on the front side and I can put something on the back side if I need to. So for instance, if these stamps had a corresponding die, I would put that in the back. So that's what makes it really, really handy. So I like having both sides available. And here's another example of that. This is an older rubber stamp that's in the front, and then on the back are some corresponding dies. So that works really, really well. So that is how I store all of my stamps, and I do try to label them as well. And I just don't have that done because I've kind of been converting some things here. But I will typically put a label with the name of the manufacturer and the number and information about the stamp itself. So that way I can refer to it, or if I'm doing this as a store project, I can know exactly what it is that we need to order. So I created a few different categories for my stamps based on what made the most sense to me. I've got alphabets, I've got animals, I've got backgrounds, Christmas, flowers, fruits and vegetables. I've got some Iowa stamps, which are our memory bound stamps, which are totally awesome. And I've got journaling blocks, miscellaneous, nature, seasonal, and then I've got words. So our word stamps are like our care and concern stamps. And again, if this had a corresponding die, I would put it on the back. Having that white cardstock in here, the other advantage to that is it helps your pouch stay upright. It's not going to be flopping over, and I can't handle the flopping. So need to have it nice and straight. So this is how I store my stamps, and it has worked really, really well for me. The dividers, I just simply made them out of chipboard, cut them to fit in my container, and then I printed a label in the same way that we talked about before on in Microsoft Word using TextBox, and just ran it across the top. And then my paper, I used a variety of different paper on the inside, or excuse me, on the outside of my dividers, just to coordinate with my craft room. So these are papers that I've kind of saved over time, that the colors and the look of them kind of fit what I'm kind of going for style-wise in my craft room. So that's how I came up with using a mix of patterns on the front. So this system has worked really well for me. Like I said before, I've used the system for many, many years, and the only thing I changed about it when I came here to Texas was I got new containers to put them in. And the great thing about these sleeves is that they do fit perfectly inside these plastic tubs from Target. So let me just scroll back and make sure we don't have any questions. And it looks like Kelly has linked the Avery Elle pockets. Yes, Mary, I do need Texas stamps. I do not have any Texas stamps yet, but I have plenty of Iowa stamps. But yeah, I do need some Texas stamps. Okay, so let's
Having a monitor
see.
is handy.
Yeah, we are very high tech today, Jay. We have my iPad, and I'm scrolling through, and I'm just feeling like we've got it going on, Jay. Okay, question about the Target bins. I will definitely put the link to that in the blog post, because they are super handy. And I will tell you, Target has a lot of other sizes as well. So if you like kind of the nature of these, you can get different sizes too. What I like about them is the sides are straight up and down, and that's really, I've got to get in screen here, I'm out of frame. The sides are straight up and down. They're not flared out in any way. And when you're looking for storage items, you do want the sides to be straight up and down. So let's continue on with the stamp storage. I'm just going to set this to the side. I don't have one of those people on the floor that I can just hand things to. I also have, of course, like all of you, additional stamps. And the ones from Tim Holtz are just a little bit wider. And you can see that they're too wide for these bins. So I right now just have mine stored sideways, and this works just great because I can thumb through them. I don't have that many. I can thumb through them and see what I've got. In the past, I will tell you, I have taken the stamps and just placed book rings through these holes to kind of keep them together. So I've made like kind of a freestanding little binder just by inserting book rings in here and clipping them together. But in this system, right now, I've just got them in here. But what's great is I also have room for my masking paper, my MISTI. My MISTI fits in here too, which is great because then everything is right together. I've got my MISTI paper and I've got my Stampendable all right here in this bin. My goal was to keep everything together so that when I want to do stamping, all I have to do is just pull this out. And again, this fits right here. And let me grab the other one. And this one fits right next to it. So you can see how both of those fit really nicely next to each other on the shelf, like so. So let me just make sure we don't have any questions about stamps before I move on. I'm going to take a look real quick. Sandy's question, do you print your labels on label paper? You know, I have not printed my labels on label paper. I have just used regular cardstock and then taped adhesive on the back, and that has worked fine. Occasionally we'll say that they do get a little dog-eared, so I've had to reprint a few. Maybe label paper would be better. Janie asked about stencils, and we will get to stencils. I have those in a drawer right now. So, and it looks like Kelly has linked our heritage presentations, so that's great. Debbie says she would need 50 boxes for all of her stamps. Well, I will tell you, one thing that it's important to do is to kind of go through your stamps before you start organizing and make sure there aren't any that you could, you know, say goodbye to. And I did pare down just a little bit. Oh, at the end, Jay, can we show a sneak peek of our cards, of the cards that we're doing? We'll have to remember that.
Who's we?
I guess it's not your cards, it's my cards. Yeah, we'll show those at the end. So, okay, we're going to move on to dies.
They also asked how you store your stencils.
Yes, and we will get to stencil storage in just a second because those are in the next drawer down. I don't have a huge number of stencils. I think it was Kelly who said she wants to do more stenciling in 2024, and I definitely am the same. I need to do more stenciling. I want to. So Jay, if you could come over here and take a closer look at the die storage. You're going to notice a recurring theme here. I am using the same fridge bins from Target for my dies as well. And this again is a system that I had in Iowa, except I had everything situated in a basket. And again, the basket was just a little bit too wide and wouldn't allow me to get 2 rows of dies. So I converted everything to the fridge bins, and now I can get 2 rows. Because I think one of the things that's really important when you are organizing is to make sure you have room to grow, right? So if that, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this with my husband in the room, haha, but as you purchase more stuff, you want your system to be able to accommodate it. You don't want to have to start a new system just because you purchased more. So you need to have some capacity. So, and this is kind of heavy, I will tell you that. So this is basically the same type of system that you just saw with my stamps. I even use the same categories as I use with my stamps. So we talked about alphabets, animals and nature, flowers, etc. I have the same categories. I made the tabs in the same way that we talked about before. And if anybody is interested, when we do our computer videos, I can show you how to make these for yourself. So you can make them to correspond to whatever categories would make sense to you. But basically, what I do differently for this system is I also incorporate a magnet. So I use the same bags that we talked about earlier, the Avery Elle large bags, and I also add a magnet. So this is the magnet set from Lawn Fawn. They are 5 by 7, and they come with 10 to a package. And what I love about these is that they are super sturdy. So they're very sturdy. They're going to stand up perfectly. You don't need to have a piece of paper to keep your bag from flopping over, because this does the trick for you. So what I will do is I take my, when I get a new die set like this one, this is the wreath, I just remove the front of the packaging, and then I put all the dies on the magnet sheet. Now what I loved, not too long ago, Janine showed us how she die cut a sample piece of each of her dies and added them to her die storage. So I think it would be really helpful if I went through my dies and cut everything out, let's say out of white or black cardstock, and added that to the back of this piece. I would probably put it on a piece of white paper so it would show more clearly. So again, this is how I store my dies, and eventually I will be adding labels to the front of these so that it's a little bit more easy to see what the name and the manufacturer is.
Kelly has just posted the link to those.
Oh, great. This is a good one. And you guys, I think Teresa influenced me to buy this one, and I have used it a lot. So this is super handy for cards and for all seasons. So, and again, this works great for all but the largest dies. So some of the bigger sets are not going to fit on this size of a magnet, but most of the ones that I use definitely will. And those are typically the Sizzix dies. And we'll get to Elizabeth Craft dies in just a second. So let's see, that's an animal, so I'm going to put him back in the animal section. So again, this is what I have, and this is pretty heavy, I will tell you that. But right now, I'm happy with how it has worked, and you can see by just transferring the dies out of the envelopes, they're quite a bit less bulky. So when you have the dies in the envelopes, there's a lot of thickness that happens toward the bottom, and when you put them on a magnet storage, they just are so nice and tidy. I wanted to show you previously, and this was before, but it's been a while since I've had a system like this, but I used to have my dies on magnet sheets with holes, and they were in a binder. And what happens over time, if you've used your dies a lot, they tend to get a little bit bowed or curved, and you can kind of bend them gently so that they're flat again. But if you travel with your dies, you know, go to crops or wherever, they can easily fall out of a system like this because there's no plastic sleeve to corral them. And so this was not working for me because I did lose a couple of dies this way. It just fell out of my binder, didn't know it. So I would tape them on with painter's tape, and it just got kind of messy. So one of the other reasons that I really love using the plastic sleeves is that if I do take this die anywhere, I'm not going to lose anything. Everything is nice and tidy right together, and then everything is corralled in this pouch. So I don't have to worry about losing things. So if you travel with your dies, that's another reason to convert to this kind of a system. So I'm going to put this back. And I will just show you, I've got a few of the big dies, and I have pared down my collection. These are the thicker dies that were made by Sizzix, and I don't even know that they're making so many of these now, but I do have a few that I have kept. And then there are some dies that are just too big to fit on the 5x7, such as Tim's Chapter 3 dies. They're just too many dies, and they won't fit on this size of a magnet. So I did hang on to some of my larger magnet sheets, and maybe Kelly can link if we've got one that's a little bit larger. Let's see how big this is. I'm thinking it's around 6x8. this is about 5.5 by 8.25. So I just saved a few of these larger ones, and I've got those dies stored on these sheets because they're just a little bit too big. So right now, I did not purchase a separate system for those since I just have a few, and I've just got them stashed right here with my Bigz dies. So that has worked great. I don't anticipate this side of my storage to grow. So as I probably weed some of these out, I will have room for my thin dies to grow. And let me just check and make sure we don't have any questions. The bins are 4 inches tall. Great question. So the Target bins are 4 inches tall, they're 6 inches wide, and they're 12 inches deep. And I will tell you, and this is the weirdest thing, they are online, and you can look at them online at Target, but you cannot purchase them online. It's the weirdest thing. I checked and double checked. Apparently they don't ship them. So you do have to go in person to pick up your Target bins. And again, they have a variety of different sizes and styles. But those have worked great. So again, I'm using them for my stamps, my dies. I'm using them for my card making supplies, my card bases. We talked about this the other day. My card bases and my envelopes, they all fit in here, which is great. So it's a really, really nice storage system. All right, so let's move on, Jay. We're going to come over here to this last one. And Elizabeth Craft dies. I know that this is a storage challenge for a lot of us because they are larger dies and they tend to not fit in your existing system. So I have just a few Elizabeth Craft dies, and I put them on the larger Lawn Fawn sleeves, magnets, excuse me. These are about 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 10, something like that, and they fit down in an 8.5 by 11 sleeve, but they all fit on the front of that magnet, and I really like that. I don't have very many. I'm just a baby when it comes to Elizabeth Craft dies. I don't have a ton, but what I would like to do is what Janine suggested the other day. She die cut all the pieces and added them to her binder so she can see exactly what all these pieces look like when they're cut. So I think that's my next step. Die cut all of them and adhere them to a piece of plain cardstock. I think that would be great. So again, this is just a regular office type binder, and I've got all of my dies stored there. And these are older dies that I just haven't been able to part with. You guys probably remember this. This is like a trip down memory lane. Some of these older dies from Quick Cuts, I believe it was. And I still have them. I don't know why I have them, but I still have them, and I probably will get rid of them at some point. But they are still in my system. So this cube includes my smaller dies. And I have some of the little dies that go with the Sidekick. I have those Sidekick dies in these little small pouches. And Kelly, I don't know if we have these to link, these little small storage pouches. They work great. And I've just got them in a small galvanized tin. I love galvanized tins, and look for these at like the dollar store or even the dollar spot at Target. They're just inexpensive and they work great for storage. I used my Crop-A-Dile to punch a hole directly through that tin, and then I can just hang a label, which is kind of handy and fun. Here is another galvanized tin. Again, probably dollar store or Target dollar spot. And I have all of my embossing folders in this tub. I don't have them organized. I really don't have that many, so I can easily just thumb through them. works great, and this is a nice way to keep them contained. And so again, I just punched a hole. I just did this the other day with my Crop-A-Dile, and then I used a little ball chain, and I used my die cut, or my dies, to die cut a label and a mat, and then just hung it, just for the cute factor. Not that I need a label on this, but it's just a cute factor. So let me ask, before we move on from this stuff, if there are any questions. I think we're good. Let me just look real quick at the comments. Quick Cuts, yeah. You guys remember Quick Cuts? Do you guys remember the squeezy handle that we had for the Quick Cuts dies? I remember going places when my daughter was really young, and I would take the Quick Cuts handle with us, and she would sit in the back seat and cut out letters for me. So that was crazy. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, Kelly mentioned on Monday we're starting a new series on Elizabeth Craft Dies. Diane is super organized. She's got her Elizabeth Craft Dies set up beautifully, and she's going to show us the differences between the Elizabeth Craft Dies, and I think that'll be great, because a lot of us love them but don't know exactly what they're used for. Question, Jay?
There's a question that's come up about how you cross-reference your stamps and dies that might go together.
Yeah, that's a great question. I keep them together. If I have stamps and dies that go together, I have to keep them together, because I will not remember. And so I have just made the decision to keep, if I have stamps and dies that go together, I keep them with my stamps, because I figure, okay, I would probably be stamping always, and then sometimes die cutting with that set. So I keep them together, and that's one of the reasons that I keep the piece of white cardstock in my pouch. So then I can put the stamps on one side and the corresponding dies on the back side. I can tell you, if I stored them in different places, ain't no way I would ever remember that I had them. So I keep them together in my stamps. That's a really good question. That's what works for me. Anything else, Jay?
Not right now.
All right. Shout out to Jay for doing a great job with those comments today. This technology thing is new to us, so thank you very much for your patience on all of this, because we're really just learning. But I hope that we'll get more and more professional as we go. All right, so no more questions about that row. Let's go on. I want to talk about this row here. I set up drawers all the way across this unit. So I've got 5 sets of drawers that fit in the Kallax system, and the drawers come in packs of 2. And Jay can chime in here, because he actually installed these drawers for me. So they go in very, very easily. And
to be pretty good with the drill.
Yeah, you do.
Like a cordless screw drill to put everything together.
Yeah, I think we're going to start down here at this end, Jay. I'm sorry, after you got all organized over here, we're going to start over here. I think this makes the most sense. They are easy to install, and I thought long and hard about, okay, which things make more sense to go in drawers, and I was thinking, golly, do I want to put my Nuvo drops in an open space like this? For me, I like kind of a tidy look. So I thought, well, Nuvo drops are all different colors and they tend to fall over a little bit. So I'm going to put them in a drawer where I don't need to look at them all the time, but I know that they're there. And so I've got in my top drawer here, and I'm just going to pull this out so you guys can see this. This is what a drawer looks like in the unit. And here, I better move my coffee. Here I have my Nuvo drops in another one of those Target bins. I should be like the spokesmodel for the Target fridge bins, shouldn't I? So in this drawer, I have all of my Nuvo drops and my glitter. And I put those in here together because I thought they kind of are used in sort of the same way. They're sort of a final little accent that you might do for a card or a layout. So I have one of the Target bins that we've been talking about, and then these are just little plastic tubs that I have had forever. They're a Rubbermaid product, and I used to have something else in them, but I found that they fit side by side and allow my liquid pearls to stand up. So one of the things that I tend to do when I'm organizing a drawer like this is I look for smaller containers that will fit inside it so that everything stays nice and tidy. One of the things that kind of makes me crazy is if I open a drawer and everything falls over. So I don't like that at all. So that's why I have these little dividers to keep everything contained. So now I have to give a shout out to Teresa. She is an influencer, absolutely, and got me into the glitter duster. So I purchased 2 glitter dusters, so I have my glitter on the ready all the time. So that's super handy. So I also had a lot of other glitter that I just had for years, and I just kept it here. I'm not a huge glitter person. But I do want to point out just a couple things. Can you come over here, Jay, and just zoom in on the Nuvo drops? If you store your Nuvo drops like this upright, which I believe is how they're supposed to be stored, I take the Nuvo drops and I just add a dot of that color to the lid so that when I'm looking down on it, I can see what color it is. And I saved out a couple that I haven't done that with just to show you. So this is eucalyptus, and let's just go over here, Jay. I'm just going to squeeze a dot of this on here, and I'm just going to let it dry. I'm just tapping it to kind of get that bubble out, and I'm just going to set it aside to dry. And here's another one. What is this? Caramel cream. So again, I do this with all of my Nuvo drops, and then that way, when I'm looking down in my drawer, I can see generally what the color is. And there's this nice little flat spot on the top of the lid that allows you to do that. So, and over time, that dries really nicely and it does not come off. So you'll be able to see what colors you have just from looking down in your drawer. So I will show you how easy this drawer is to put back. So you can see the mechanism inside the drawer that hubby installed. It's just like a roller and a track, and you just slide it right back in. So it works really, really well. So down here, and again, I'm just going to pull this out for ease of viewing. I've got my small collection of embossing supplies, and I do use the Tim Holtz embossing powder case. And Kelly, maybe you can link this one for us, to store all of my embossing powders. And because I am the way I am, I made labels for the tops of my jars so that I can read down in them. And I just printed this on the computer and then just punched around it with a circle punch so I can see what they are. My embossing glazes, since they're a little bit different than traditional embossing powders, I made a black label for, so I can see that they're a little bit different. So again, I've got these in the container by Tim Holtz, which is super handy and fits these perfectly. So I've got all of my embossing stuff in one drawer, and you can see I don't have a huge amount of it, but I've got everything that I need for embossing, my powders, my dabber, my Versamark cubes, etc. All of that is right here together. So let's see if we have any questions about that.
I like the Nuvo drop idea.
Yeah, the Nuvo drop idea works really, really well. I'm going to set these aside just to make sure that we don't bump them. I've done that for years, and that has been super, super helpful. Let's see, continuing on. This is not a very exciting drawer, but I'll show you anyway. This is my watercolor stuff. And I've got all of my watercolor pencils, and I don't have the fancy cup yet that we carry at Memory Bound. I just have an old cup, but I do have the pencil sharpener and a few other supplies, and I just keep all of my watercoloring supplies together. I've got my watercolor paper, everything is right here, my water brushes, and so forth. So when I'm ready to watercolor, I have everything that I need. And you can see how easy it is to take these in and out. I will tell you guys, when figuring out where to store everything, storing your mixed media kinds of things was probably the most challenging for me, because all the things are different sizes and different shapes and different heights, and it makes it a little bit difficult to find appropriate storage for everything. So Jay, if you want to just zoom in here, I don't have a ton of mixed media stuff, but I do have some, and I am making use of the Tim Holtz storage tins. So these are the mica sprays that we all love, and they fit perfectly in this little container. I do have quite a bit of alcohol ink, which I've got in the appropriate container as well. And I found that both of these fit really nicely in this drawer. So I have kept my Yupo paper right with my alcohol ink, which is how it would be used. And then over here, I just have a smaller tray that I used to use for something else, just to corral some of my older sprays and paints. So again, I always look for ways to corral things in drawers so that they don't slip around and move too much. So I'm going to place this back in. Again, I'm not a huge mixed media person, but even with the limited supplies that I have, it was still a little bit of a challenge to figure out how to store this stuff. There's not really much in that drawer. Here, I do want to talk about stencils. Someone asked earlier, how do I store my stencils? And as I said before, I don't have a ton of stencils, but I do have them on the storage rings, and I'm sure Kelly can link these for us. These are super handy, very roomy storage rings that you can use to put your stencils on. And I just grouped them by size because that kind of made the most sense to me. So I've got my big ones, my medium size, and then my little ones all together. And I've just got them here in the drawer. I decided to store my spatulas with my stencils because that's where I would typically use the spatulas, or the palette knives, I guess is the real name. And then I've got a few, thanks to Teresa, I've got grit paste, sparkle, and the black opaque texture paste, and the grit paste snowfall. And I've just got all of those things stored right here with my stencils because that's how I would use them. And do you guys remember, this is a trip down memory lane, y'all remember these chalks from back in the day? We used to use these chalks all the time before inks came out for edging papers. So I still have my chalks, and I just could not bear to part with them. Even though I really don't use them anymore, I just had to keep them because they are a special thing to me. So I'm going to put this back in. And over here, this I want to spend a little bit more time on. Jay, if you could come zoom in real quick. This is where I store my ink. And Jay, if you want to come around here, or I can even take the phone. This is how I have my distress ink stored. And I don't have a ton of this size of ink pad, but I do want to show you what I did because this is kind of crazy. The Tim Holtz ink storage box, I'm just going to take these things out, comes with this little plastic sleeve inside that is really ingenious because it keeps your inks standing up, and then you can use the labels that we carry at the store. to label each one with their color, which is great. Well, what I found when I went to put this in my drawer, and I'm just going to show you how the container fits. When I went to put these in my drawer, I found that this would be really cumbersome to, each time I wanted to use ink, to pull this out and then open it. So I thought, you know what? I don't have to use this container the way it was designed. So I just took this piece out of it and just slid it right down in here. And now I've got 2 rows of these that fit perfectly. And what you can do, if you have any, do you guys remember sticky tack? You remember sticky tack, don't you, Jay? You used to stick stuff to the walls.
Hold your maps up in school.
Right. This is something similar. It's called museum putty. And you can put like a piece of it under the container. And you can do this with any of your containers. And if you like anchor the corners, when you put this in your drawer and push it down, now it can go in and out of the drawer and it will not move. So I can pull out my ink and it doesn't pick up the rest of the container with it. So I just recently figured that out and I'm pretty excited about it. So you might ask, okay, what do I do with this then? Well, I decided to use it for my full spools of ribbon, and it has worked really great for that. So I have a few of those and they fit perfectly in here. So I guess those have to lay down. Those work great in here, and I'm still able to use the container. So it doesn't matter to me if I use the storage device how it was intended. I'm still using it, so that's what counts. All right, so that was my ink. I also have a second drawer for my smaller inks and my other more traditional ink pads. So I do have some of the smaller cubes. And I also have the Tim Holtz storage tin for the small archival inks. And I will tell you, if you have the inks and haven't purchased the cubes, you definitely want to purchase, haven't purchased the storage tins, you definitely want to do that because they were designed to keep these nice and tidy, and it's really just so helpful. The other thing that I want to point out is inside the storage tin, I've just cut pieces of my media grip that I use with those ink pads. So this just sticks down, and when I'm getting ready to ink something, I just pull out my media grip, and I've got this, and it's ready to keep my ink pad nice and tidy. So as I'm working, then this keeps my ink pad from sliding all around. So it's great. You can dab your ink applicator in it, and then nothing moves. So I just cut a few of these, and I just keep them like down in the storage container with my inks so that I remember to use them. So just keep them in here like so. And these are great because 2 or 3 would feel nice and stacked. And Jay, if you want to come over here. I also have my ink applicator tools and my more traditional ink pads in here. And I worked kind of hard to get everything in this drawer that was related to inking. So these 2 drawers contain all of my ink supplies, and I don't have a ton, but these are the ones that I use the most, so I put them up here. And you can see I've got some capacity for growth. And if you want to come over here, Jay, I will show everyone. I've got mixed media, I would say, like surfaces and items that you could decorate in these drawers. So a lot of the Tim Holtz stuff. I've got some little clipboards, some things I didn't get to at Christmas, some things that I want to do. I took all of my Christmas kinds of things and I combined them in one drawer because these are all things that I really intend to finish up for hopefully next year or the year after that. So I've got all of that stuff in one drawer, whereas previously I had it who knows where. So it's really nice to have it all contained. Okay. There we go. And then over here, I will point out I've got a lot of my ideology stuff from Tim Holtz in one drawer because I do love using it together. And I am using one of the Tim Holtz storage containers for my extra Christmas die cuts. So when I am doing die cutting for a card or a project or a layout, I usually make a few extra pieces and I keep them. And previously we talked about how I keep them in the envelopes. But I have so many for Christmas that I have just started storing them in this tin, which makes it a whole lot easier. Jay, if you want to turn around and show them, we'll just remind them of how I store my other die cut pieces. I just store them in the little pouches, but I just have so many Christmas ones that I just have a separate container for those. So I guess I don't have this in correctly. Oh dear. Wouldn't you know, on live TV, there we go. Let me put this back. And let's ask if there are any questions, Jay, before I move on to the last row. Any questions at all? Let me look.
I'll glance and see.
Here. Okay, we are headed into the ribbon bin, so I will show you about my ribbon. Yes, IKEA. I should be like a spokesmodel for IKEA. Gosh, lots of good ideas. The storage cubes and this whole unit is an IKEA, Bev. So if you have an IKEA near you, that would be a good field trip. There is an IKEA if you're in Iowa. There's an IKEA in Minneapolis and in Kansas City, right? And we're in the Dallas area, and there are two, right? There's one in...
One's not too far from the airport.
Not too far from here, and there's another one, I believe, in Grand Prairie. I don't know where any of these things are. So, of course, I didn't know where anything was in Iowa either, so nothing has changed. Okay, so let's talk about this bottom row. Let's come over here, and we'll start here. This is a shelving unit.
Shadows.
Okay. Well, this is a shelf that I want to show everybody. You can purchase the shelves at IKEA that go in these units, and they're really easy. They just slip right in. So there's no screwing them into the unit itself. They just slide right in. There's a little bit of assembly involved, but it's not bad at all. So I have on these two shelves, I have my punches, and I just store my punches in baskets, and these are just probably from Target. I've had these for years. I've kept the same system that I used in Iowa, but I wanted to put them down here. Both of these baskets are kind of heavy, so I thought, you know, if I just put them here, I can pull them out, grab what I need, and push them back in, so I don't have to worry about lifting them down from a high space. Here I've got a galvanized tin that I use to store all of my circle punches, and some of them I've got out because I'm using them on a project right now. But I store like my most used punches in here. So my diagonal corner punch, my corner rounder, and so forth, I just put them in here because I'm always reaching for those. So those fit well here. And again, I've got two shelving units in these cubes. And here I've got all of my letterpress stuff, which I'm super excited to use. And remember, everybody, at 1 o'clock today, we have a letterpress video from Kelly. So come back today at 1 p.m. Central Time for that. So all of my letterpress stuff is there. And right now, I don't have a ton of letterpress stuff, but I did put my letterpress dies in the same storage envelopes that I have my regular dies in. So I might move these into my regular die system, but for now they're right in here. And I want to talk just really quickly about these bins. And these are the cube bins that you can purchase at IKEA. There are lots of different styles. I like the tidy look of these. They stand up straight and they're nice and sturdy. And you can see they are very, very roomy. So there's a ton of room in here, and way more room than you might expect. So I decided, you know, how am I going to use these? One thing that I could use them for would be fabric. And I am absolutely not a seamstress, and Jay can vouch for that. But I have a little bit of the Tim Holtz fabric that I've been accumulating with a plan of making a few things for Christmas. So it didn't happen. And I decided I would get some of the storage bags that we carry. These are called the Zipophile bags. And I think I bought like 10 or 12 of them, and I have used almost all of them. And I decided to put all of my Tim Holtz fabric in one bag. And look how perfectly it fits in there. And then I happen to love felt. I have probably more felt than anything. And I have that all stored in another pouch. And all of those things can fit in there perfectly. And since I'm not much of a fabric girl, I mean, that's all I need for my fabric. And it, to me, is a really good way to store it, at least for me. And then ribbon, I have in a similar type situation. I mentioned before I've got my full spools and larger containers of ribbon in the Tim Holtz ink storage tins that I didn't use from before. Gosh, this is one of our mesh storage bags. I've got all of this embroidery floss. What the heck am I going to do with it? I don't know, but I think it belonged to my mom, and so of course I'm keeping it. And I do have my ribbon right now stored in these are just baggies, and I have them sorted by color. So I went through all of my ribbon and really pared it down because I'm not a huge ribbon person. Pared it down to, these are my reds and pinks, these are my greens, blues, and neutrals. And I just, this is a new system for me. I'm just trying it out and seeing how it works for me. In Iowa, I used to have my ribbon in jars. So I'll show you what those look like. I used to have a jar for every color, but they took a lot of table space to have all of those jars, and I just don't have the table space in this situation. So I did have an extra bin, so I thought, well, I'm going to just try that. And I kept 2 jars. This one is for twine and floss that I use a lot, and I have those on the small little ribbon or floss cards, and I just joined them with a book ring. And then I have a second one for baker's twine, and I do love baker's twine, and I have quite a lot of that, and I use that quite a bit. So again, I've got those on those little floss cards, and they're just joined with a book ring, and full spools I've got down in there. So these, because I use them a lot, I have them just in these little jars. So, but again, this is a new system for me for my ribbon, and we'll see how it works, but I'm optimistic. I will say, I think it was Janie, or I believe, asked about how I straighten my ribbon, and I forgot to plug in my curling iron to show you, but I'll just pretend.
Okay.
Let's grab a piece of ribbon here.
Can we plug it in? Can you do it?
Could we plug it in? Yeah, let's plug it in. maybe we'll get to that. Let me plug it in real quick, and we'll get to that. So this is a wrinkly piece of ribbon, and we'll plug in the curling iron, and I'll show you how I straighten it, because that's my fancy little trick. Shout out to Maggie. In a class with Maggie or a demo with Maggie, you will never see Maggie straightening ribbon. She's always wrinkling it, and I'm always straightening it. So you gotta love that. So we'll come back to the ribbon as soon as the curling iron is hot. So that's how I'm storing my ribbon. And let me ask if there are any questions. I'm gonna go through. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Janie is asking, how do you store loose, smaller pieces of ribbon? And we did, I showed you this. This is how I'm storing them right now. And Janie, this is a new system for me, so we will see. But right now, I've got like little pieces of ribbon in here. And I think it works great. So far, I've been able to find what I need. And again, as I said before, I had a jar system, which just was taking up way too much room. So I will straighten this piece of ribbon for you as soon as my curling iron heats up. So one last bin I'm going to show you, and I'll pull that out. Another thing that I needed to figure out how to store in this craft room was all of my card samples. And I think we have talked about keeping a prototype or a pattern for different card designs that you might make, or it could be for a mini book or something like that. I always keep those, and storing them can be kind of messy, but I found that if I put them all down in here, I can just dump them out and get to them if I need to. So this works just great. So if I need inspiration and I'm just not sure what I want to do, oh look, here's an example of a little gift card holder I can make, and I've got all the dimensions written on here, where to score, where to put score tape and so forth. So I have just been keeping my patterns in one of these pouches. And I also do have a few, I have cards that I've received, and then I have cards that I've made that were maybe given to my husband or my mom or something like that, and I do have those. So I keep them kind of for inspiration. But look, if you could look in here, Jay, look how many bins you can fit, or how many plastic bags you can fit in a bin like this. So I still have plenty of room for extra. So all of this stuff is a kind of an inspiration drawer, and I have them labeled. These are card samples and favorites and patterns that I can just refer to. So again, that's what I had in the bins. I will tell you that I initially wanted to purchase a lot more bins than I did, but I had trouble figuring out what to put in the bins that would be useful for me. So you have to consider what are the items that you need to store and what makes the most sense in terms of how to store it. So for instance, do you want bins? Do you want drawers? Do you want shelves? Do you want open cubes? If you're using the Kallax system, those are the questions that you want to think about. Now, I hopefully think our curling iron is hot. Let's go over to the desk area. I've got my piece of ribbon. Now, memory bound gals, I'm not sure if I left a curling iron there for you guys to use if you need to straighten your ribbon. There might be one for you. So I've got my curling iron, it's heated up, and I'm just going to put my piece of ribbon in here, and I'm just going to pull it through. Nice and slow. Check it out. Isn't that cool? And now when you tie your little bow, it's going to be all pretty and not wrinkly. So I just love this method. And if you took a class from me in Iowa, you probably remember I would keep my curling iron plugged in at the front of the classroom. so we could all straighten our ribbon. But if you're doing a card and you want it to have a nice, neat appearance, sometimes you want your ribbon to be straight. Sure, there are times when you want your ribbon to be crunched and curly, but a lot of times I like it straight. So if you have a curling iron, this is another use for it.
Someone was asking if a regular flat iron would be too hot.
No,
if it's on low.
No, I think it would be totally fine. A flat iron would be great if you have one. And this is the curling iron I use for my hair. It's nothing special, but you do want to have one that has a tight, what would you call it, Jay? A tight clamp. Yeah, you don't want it to be too loose because a lot of the ribbon that we use is pretty thin. But you can see how beautifully that worked. So let's just make sure we don't have any other questions, and then I think that's about all I have for today. Let me just make sure. All right, give us a shout out if you have a question. And let's see, how do I store foam stickers? You know, that is a great question, Jeannie. I don't have a ton of foam stickers, but I do have some. And if you go back and look at part 1, we did talk about ephemera storage. I have some foam stickers in this system, which is just simply the 8.5 by 11 pocket sleeves. I do think I've got some foam stickers in here in this system, but I also have some foam. I know I have some foam stickers here. Here's some foam stickers. These are foam alphabet stickers, and I've just got them down in the 12 by 12 pouches that we carry. I think you can get 3 to a package. They're like paper organizers, and I've got foam alphabet stickers in there. I am not a huge sticker person, so I don't have a lot of stickers on hand. If I had foam stickers that went with a particular collection, I would put them in the little pouch with the rest of the paper that matches the collection. So I hope that helps, Jeannie. Let's see. Nancy, you have been using a curling iron for your ribbon too. Shout out to Nancy, yay. If I had a small iron, yeah, you could use that too, absolutely. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, you guys, thanks for all the nice comments. How do I store my mixed media brushes? Well, first of all, I'm not a huge mixed media person, but those that I do have, I have in one of these drawers, if I could remember which one. Okay.
I think you talked about them earlier.
Yeah, in this drawer, I have my foam applicators, like the pouncers, and these wonderful iCrafter blending brushes, and these, which are the most wonderfully soft brushes. I've just got them in here with my inks because that's typically where I'm going to be using those things. And hey, you guys, look what I see right here. Chestnut Roan. Y'all remember Chestnut Roan? I think this is my one remaining container of Chestnut Roan. The gals told me at one point that it was being discontinued. This was years ago. And I think I bought out all the Chestnut Roan I could find anywhere. And I told everybody in my classes that it was discontinued as well. And it wasn't true. So there you go. Let me see if there's anything else. I believe that's all I have for you today. So let me just give a couple reminders. At 1 o'clock today, Kelly is doing a video about the letterpress, BetterPress letterpress system, and she'll show you how to use it and teach you about the Letterpress Society, tell you about that and how to join. And if you missed part 1 of this video, you can go back and watch part 1, which was filmed last Friday. So a week ago today, we did part 1, and now you can see part 2 later. And I think that's all we have for today. So if there are any further questions, you can just put them in the comments, and I will get to those later.
Just one. Someone's asking, where is Lily?
Where is Lily?
She didn't make an appearance.
Let's see if I can see her anywhere. Oh, Jay, she is right here. Come on over. She is right here. This is my kitty Lily. She is 17, soon to be 18, and she made the trip all the way to Texas. So
she's 87.
87 in people years. Yeah, she's a senior girl. So, and she was asleep. So this is Lily. She has her fans, and I'm her biggest. So thanks everybody for joining us today. I hope you have a great and crafty day. And if you have any questions at all, you can give us a jingle at the store, 515-965-1102, and we'll be happy to help you out. Bye.